Item 3. Dear Councilman DiGilio, I hereby submit for your confirmation the appointment of the following individual for the open city constable position with his term to expire on November 2023. Francis Kiros. Mr. Kiros has previously served as a city constable. Thank you for your consideration of this appointment. Sincerely, Dean E. Esposito, Mayor.
What's your pleasure, Council? Councilman Levy.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Fran Karras, Constable, City of Danbury. Fran has been a resident of Danbury for a number of years and has served the city well. And I take a lot of pleasure in making this motion to appoint him in that position.
Thank you, Councilman. Seconded by Ms. Viscani. Is there any discussion? Yes, Councilman Britton.
Thank you, Your Honor. I do have some pretty serious concerns regarding this appointment and the way it was been brought forward. But first off the bat, I just want to thank the Office of the Corporation Counsel, specifically Attorney Pinter and Attorney Edwards. I had reached out to Attorney Pinter back in January regarding this vacancy just on a whim. I happened to be reading the city charter that day. Some people read books. I like reading documents. And it dawned on me that we only elected 4 constables in November. And I was curious whether there was, in fact, a legal vacancy for the 5th one. So after I reached out to council, I alerted the chair of the Democratic Party that I was seeking a legal opinion regarding a potential vacancy for the office of constable, and that she should be ready to make a recommendation to fill that vacancy should we receive an opinion that there was, in fact, a vacancy. So it was then said to me that the vacancy in question was not as clear-cut because there was a legitimate legal question whether there was actually a vacancy, because just following intuition and basic logic, if the seat was not elected to and filled in the first place, how can somebody vacate it, and therefore how can there be a vacancy? And sure enough, last Wednesday I received the final opinion from council that there was in fact a vacancy, and I thank them for giving me the very articulate breakdown of what it was, that there is a vacancy. The city council is empowered in making the appointment, and the minority representation law holds that a replacement just cannot be a Republican. So I again reached out to the party chair to inform her of the situation, and then the following day I received my council agenda. And on that council agenda is the appointment made by the mayor to fill the vacancy with an individual I'll speak more on in a moment, but so far 2 serious issues have presented itself. First, the public was never notified of this vacancy, and the minority party leadership was never given a reasonable notice following the issuance of that legal opinion to conduct a good faith effort to find and endorse a replacement. Now, some may argue, right, well, the Democrats should have known when they only ran 1 constable in November, and my response to that is the party was well aware they only ran 1 constable, but they were awaiting a ruling from council before they wasted time and resources to conduct a search for a vacancy that was not legally found to exist yet. And by the time the party was made aware that a legal vacancy existed, the mayor already made his pick. And lastly, I'm going to finish up just because I want to point the public's attention and my colleagues to this letter, because it's important you know all the facts. This letter contains defamatory remarks against me and my family name and was mailed to hundreds of houses in the 4th Ward days before the November election in an attempt to sour my chances at winning the election, which, as you can see, failed because I'm here anyway. And that person tonight that wrote this letter is the person being nominated to the position of constable. And I circled his name up top here just so you can see. And the reason I bring up this letter, I have a point, is because this individual is being pitched to the public as an independent, where in reality the facts suggest otherwise. At the bottom of this letter, it reads, paid for by the Danbury Republican Town Committee. Now, a Facebook post endorsing one candidate over another is one thing a reasonable person could say that an independent would do. But a mail piece paid for by a major party, promoting the candidate of a major party, attacking a candidate of the opposing major party, that's not an independent. And there are names for this. Some of you may have heard of the phrases dino and rhino, Democrat in name only, Republican in name only. And I believe tonight we have sufficient reason to coin a new phrase that I'll call an I know.
Excuse me, Councilman, we have a point of order.
Sure.
Councilman Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. Ron. Can we just keep this to the topic at hand? I think we went a little off the tracks here with these statements.
Councilman Britton.
Yeah, I'm finishing up. And so further, and this is the last point I'll make, because it's an important point, because it was confirmed to me today by the Registrar of Voters that the individual under consideration was a registered Republican up until February 2nd, 2022, where they switched their party affiliation to the Independent Party. And I just want to remind the public and the council that my original inquiry began on January 27th, and this person switched parties shortly thereafter. And also, as of today, this too certified by the Registrar of Voters, the individual under consideration is a registered Republican Justice of the Peace, and that's live as of today. The law says that no more than 3 members of the same party can hold the office of constable. We elected 3 Republicans in November, and now this body is poised to put 4 Republicans in an office where legally only 3 can exist. So I just leave my colleagues on both sides of the aisle with this final comment. In the spirit of the law, and considering the full context of the situation here, I believe it's plain to see the harm in allowing this appointment, and I do strongly suggest that should this go to a vote, my colleagues swiftly vote it down in order to preserve the parity that the minority representation law was written to maintain. But for now, I'm going to move that this nomination be sent to an ad hoc to further examine the findings of fact that were brought forward tonight. And I thank you, and I will yield back to the chair.
Thank you, Councilman. Is there any other discussion? Did you? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. I'm sorry, Councilman. That's being referred to an ad hoc committee. The ad hoc committee will consist of Councilman DeGiulio, Councilman Warren Levy, and Councilman Freddie Visconti.